here's the beauty of it. So what it does for me is most of my homes I've owned because that was my strategy. But now I'm starting to get into the place where I'm master leasing some of them. So you bring stability to the house because you know you can afford that particular X marks the spot payment. And you don't have to worry about it not income producing because it's not one tenant, it's not one resident, you got five.
That's
So
right.
even if somebody falls off, I'm still churning. Like the whole time, I'm just always marketing for that replacement person. And so you're never without rent in that property at all. There's always something coming in the door, and you're fulfilling a need for them.
Yeah, you
So
are.
it's really win-win.
Hey there, do you want to skip the trial and error in real estate investing? Visit my website, dwanderful.com. I will show you how to do double your income in no time at all.
A broke single mom fired from Denny's becomes America's most sought after real estate investor. How does that happen? Well, that's me, Dwan Benton Twyford, aka Dwanderful. But it doesn't stop there. I, along with some amazing guests, are going to teach you everything there is to know about investing. Listen, success is not exclusive. I can teach you, you can have it too. I can share with you. So I want you to join me for season 5 of the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. Cheers. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being on the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. I'm your host, Dwan Benton Twyford, America's most sought after real estate investor. And I have such a good guest for you today. I actually met Tiffani a few months ago. How many months ago, Tiffani? Do you like 6
It was
months?
back in April. I think it was March, April.
Yep. So we were on a call together, and they had a panel of us top dog female real estate investors, and I loved her. Like, I have got to get you onto my podcast. So I'm excited for us to talk to her today and see how she can help you grow in your business. But our motto at Dwanderful is people before profits. So if that resonates with you, you're at the right place. I'm your girl. You can go to Dwanderful, DWANDERFUL, dwanderful.com, and I have some free ebooks and some fun things to get you started on your real estate investing. So I took my name Dwan and Wonderful, and I made a new word. So that's how we came up with Wonderful. So Tiffani, Miss Tiffani Ray, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for asking, and thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, I
Happy to be.
loved when we were on Venus panel, and I thought, okay, I am not familiar with her, and she is sharp. So
Well,
I
thanks.
hunted you down to Cincinnati.
I born and raised in Cincinnati. Been at this for a while, but I think the big thing is that I had a corporate job for a very, very long time, and
Yeah.
so my real estate, I would call it maybe my side hustle, but it really was never a side hustle, just more so my passion. And so I had an opportunity to move forward to become full time, 10 toes down in real estate, and here we are.
That's it. That's it. So we're going to get to all that because that's what I loved about your story as well. So first off, I just sort of like to throw my guests to the wolves a little bit. I just want you to tell everyone how to find you on social media and give us a website and like directly where people can go to you. I just like that to be in the very top of the show notes because some people glance over the show notes, some people listen, some people watch. So I want your contact info at the top. So kind of like, what's your deal?
Absolutely. So I am on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. It's Tiffani Ray Smith. So Tiffani with an I, Ray Smith. You can find me there. As far as my business is concerned, Ray of Hope Realty Services is my baby, and you can reach me at tiffanyray.com. Very simple.
That's it. And I like Ray
Yeah.
of Hope because
Thank
it's like
you.
a ray of sunshine, but it's Ray, your name, like
Yes.
Dwan and Dwanderful. I love plays on names.
Yeah. It makes it personal for real. Yep.
Yeah, it does make it personal for real. All right. So when I met you on the panel, so you're gonna have to just help me remember a little bit because there was 4 or 5 of us on the panel that night.
Yeah, I believe there were 5. Yes.
Yeah, and the other girls, love them too. But I saw you. I was like, I love her. I have to have her on my show for myself. So you started off in corporate. So this is part of what I love is hearing about the journey because I feel like most of us, well, I am also from Ohio. I don't know. I think I told you that. Dayton. So, and I'm a little bit older than you, but not much. But I was raised up in that get out of high school, get married, have kids, and go work at the factory. So like that was what my whole life. And then I did work at a factory and I thought, oh, why would somebody want this from me? This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And it was terrible. But I feel like most of us, especially women, are just like either get married and have kids or, go get a job. And they don't just go, hey, I'm going to just start my own company. I just don't feel like, I don't know. I feel like women at our age, it's just not, that's not bred into us.
Absolutely not. Very much from the same generation. I saw my grandfather go to work. I did see my grandmother work a little bit. My mom was a single parent, so she had no choice in the matter, but it definitely wasn't surrounding a business. It was, I need something stable because I have to take care of my kid. And
Yeah.
so that kind of bred her doing the W-2. And so I did see hard workers. So I knew I had to work hard, but I also, like yourself, it wasn't going to be just a traditional trajectory for me. I've always been a lone ranger and cut my own path when a lot of people did. So
So
here
what
we are
did
to
you
the
do
same.
before you got into like micro developing? Because I want to talk about your niche, but I like to hear, yeah, because like I tell people, listen, I got fired from Denny's on third shift. I was a broke single mom. I really had no place to go but up. I really like who gets fired from Denny's in the middle of the night,
Well, such was not my background from Denny's. I definitely became what I call an accidental banker. I was very artistic. So, to be quite honest with you, Juan, I wanted to be a singer in the south of France, like, Tiffany, Ray, yay. Like, and very quickly, I realized that that probably wouldn't be very fruitful and I couldn't sustain as a starving artist. So, I became an accidental banker, started in collections and I asked people for money for delinquent bills. And it
Oh,
was on jewelry collections of all things. So I called on your watches and your rings and your necklaces and yeah, that kind of stuff on cards. We collected on index cards when I
oh,
started.
that's right.
Yes.
I still have. It's in a
Yep.
box now, but I still have my old Rolodex. And I look back at it sometimes. It's like, wow, half the people I don't know, half the people are dead, and it's like a sliver of people I still know. But man, at one point that Rolodex, it's like
Life.
that's your life. You lose your
Yes.
Rolodex or your book. It's like losing your phone. You're just like, you freak out. So jewelry, so being in collections, especially jewelry collection, that probably got you over any fear you ever had of talking to people.
Absolutely.
People are yelling at you, "Stop calling me," and they're screaming at you, right?
But I went from jewelry collections to hospital collections. So I went
Oh.
backwards. Yeah. So imagine your kid's sick and you got this lady on the phone, but ma'am, you still owe $10,000. How are you going to pay? Like, really, that's their first priority, right? Is paying the bill
Yeah.
when they have a yeah. And it was for Children's Hospital, so it was
Oh.
all children. Right, right. So you're talking about punching yourself in the gut and taking the fear of asking anybody for anything. So I don't have any fear to ask anybody for anything.
And
Nope.
I feel like now you've been investing for a while now, right? How long have you been investing?
Oh, over 30 years.
Okay. So
Yeah.
30 years. So and you're on calls and webinars and you coach and train, similar we have a similar what we do. But don't you find or maybe you don't find, but tell me what you think. I always when I do a lot of those live works like in Cincinnati, live workshops, I always ask people like, why have you not started investing before now? And the
Right.
number one answer I get is fear. Like, what are you
Mhm.
afraid of? And they say, well, I don't know what to say. I'm afraid someone will yell at me. Like all these fears. And it's like, I don't really know where that comes from. I guess because I've always been really outgoing and talkative. And I feel like fear is a big thing, but you are already doing something that everyone's afraid
Right.
of.
Asking for money. So yeah, I don't know about the fear thing. I think it's not really fear. I think it's people's insecurity I, I do. I really think it's people's insecurity because everybody that presents seems like they just know everything all at once, but they don't realize, Dewan, you've been doing this for 40 years, or they don't
35.
realize that, you see what I'm saying? Right. They don't realize that if I'm in a specific strategy, I've been doing it for a long time. And then I think with this generation, the other thing is they expected everything to be handed to them with bullet points and checklist points. And we've had to dig in. I spent a many reading to master my craft. I will tell you, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, girl, we did. We had to dig in. Like I started off 35 years ago. My daughter was a baby. And when I go door knocking, there's no GPS. I had to use
Nope.
those big old map books. And let me tell you, that in and of itself is a skill. And it just, and I'd have to go to the courthouse and handwrite all the addresses and like I have to knock on the door. I got a baby hanging on my hip because I'm a single mom. And it's like, and then people are like, I don't know how to find deals. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just want to like, what is wrong with you? What do you mean I don't know how to find deals?
They're
Go to the
everywhere.
courthouse and go door knocking with a paper map and let's talk about it. Right. Now, how did so you started off as an agent?
No, I am not a realtor at
Y-
all.
Good. You
I
get me
started
too.
accidental in like accidental banker, accidental investor. I did my first, I'm going to call it short sale because I know that's your baby, in 1987, and it was
Wow.
but by accident. It was a total accident. Didn't even have a name for it back then. We didn't know what that was. Nobody was talking about it. This is when the ITT financials
Yeah.
and all the there was a financial on every corner where you could go get a loan. And it was actually a family member that was in distress. And I was actually rooming with them. I had a room there. And they really fell in dire straits. And I had a decent job. And I was just like, okay, well, let me see what I can do with this. And accidental short sale.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's how I did
And
my first one too. It was a complete accident. And then after it happened a bunch of times, I thought, I'm going to trademark this.
I love that you did that, right?
There's
I definitely did not catch on to that part because I was like, oh, this is a fluke. Like, will that happen again? And yeah, it happened again, but I never thought anything of it. So yeah, I became an accidental real estate investor.
I like that term because everyone always says, well, how did you get in? And I said, listen, the fact that someone is listening to me on this podcast, they're 100 years ahead of me because it was an accident, really, too. I was just looking for something to do from home and raise my daughter. And I met some investors, like, oh, we buy them, we fix them up, we sell them. And I'm like, oh, decorating, how hard could that be? And then it's like, it's not decorating, it's rehabbing. And it was really hard.
Yes.
But once I made the first check, I was like, shoot, man, I got all this money. I'm gonna do it again. And then next thing you know, like 35 years go by. So
Yep.
I like the fact, I like when I meet someone else that like kind of accidentally fell into it because it's like a huge giant blessing to fall into something that's so amazing
Exactly.
and then to actually make a go of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you think about it, you hear all these things or read all these things in hindsight, it's like, real estate is one of the best ways to become independent and
That is.
independently wealthy and leave something legacy for your family. But you read all that like in hindsight. At the time, I was trying to save somebody from losing a house. You were trying to make money. It
Yep.
wasn't the why. And then you understand what this is and what it can bring, and you move forward into, okay, I'm going to make this I'm going to make a go of it. I'm going to really try and go ahead and do this. And so where's the fear in that? I'm trying to make a couple of extra bucks, and so were you. Well, what did you have to lose? Really? Nothing.
And that's
Not a
probably
thing.
to our benefit.
Yeah. Oh, by far.
Because
Absolutely.
people now that are sitting down and like saying, okay, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to work with Dwan. I'm going to work with Tiffany. They're really consciously making a decision. They're terrified because they read everything. The internet has so much information that's good and bad. You don't know who to
Yes.
trust. Like you just
Yes.
don't know. You don't know. Like who do you trust? Who do you work with? You don't know. So I feel kind of like falling into it accidentally and being naive was probably the best thing for me. That
Mhm.
I might have like overanalyzed it to death.
Oh, knowing what I know now, like it would definitely be too much information. It would be like being a surgeon and then going to another surgeon for an opinion. Like
Ah,
way too much information. But I've actually, for some strategies, had to unlearn everything that I've learned about a certain thing,
Mhm.
and that is a trait as well. It's like,
That
okay, I'm
is.
going to listen and I'm going to throw this part out and I'm going to use this part, or I forget everything I know. That's hard to do, but we do it and we learn new things and ways to develop our skills all the time.
We have to pivot.
That's right. Pivot
Pivot.
is the magical word. That's
But people
right.
don't do that. They get in, they go, "This is my niche. This is what I do. I'm doing this forever until the end of time." And then markets crash, things
Yep.
happen, elections, the things, and then they're like, "I don't know what to do." It's like pivot.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I know you have a lot of listeners out there, and you gentlemen out there that are listening to us, we think you are very awesome. But us gals, especially us single moms that had to do it that way, pivot is that is a skill that we should put on a resume because you learn how to make a little out of a lot out of a little, and I think that definitely helped that fright thing in your belly.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Mhm.
And so you got into your niche, and what specifically is your niche?
Right now, for the past almost 4 years, is shared housing or co-living. That's my niche right now.
And see, now I love that. And do you know that as much as I know about real estate, I only discovered this concept like 2 or 3 years ago. I
Hmm.
was like, what? People do that? Like splitting
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
houses and the bedrooms. And I was like, that's a
yeah,
thing. So I didn't even like, and I've been investing 35 years. And when I found out, it was like fresh news I never heard in my life. It's like, I got 30 years in and I just found this out a few years ago.
yeah. Well, actually, no. I bet you that you didn't. You just never looked at it that way. So,
Probably.
oh yeah, because when I was growing up, my grandparents had the neighborhood home, and there was always someone in our attic upstairs that didn't belong to our family, but that was our magical cousin. Oh, they're just staying here until they get on their feet. They're just so boarding houses have been around forever and a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Right.
Boarding
And
houses. Yeah.
really, when you think about it, in hindsight, Dwan, that's all this is. It's just boarding houses on steroids.
Yeah, it
But
is.
yeah, that
It
really
is.
is. Yeah. And so, and our parents and our grandparents did that thing. You bring your family up from another state, and they stayed in one room. They were in your
Yes.
house. Yeah.
Yes. My aunt, she's 97. God love her. She's still
Hmm.
alive. And she was telling me some stories like when she first got out of like high school and college, she went to live in DC. This is from Tennessee. From like, I mean, like almost like a holler to live in DC and stayed at a boarding house. And, now I'm like, oh my gosh, weren't you scared? Like, just you moving by yourself? I said, no, I just took a train and go to a little boarding
Yep.
house. I'm paying for my room and they're making my meals. And I
Yep.
was like, I love that. But, I think it's because it was called boarding houses, so I don't think about it as what it
Right.
is, but it's a big thing.
It is. And you will hear a lot of names: co living, group homes, shared housing. I mean, there's a whole lot of nomenclature around it. But I definitely think that because it the housing crisis is upon us, and right now the prices of rents are steady, and they're still climbing in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
But the cost of living just has not kept up, and so
Yeah.
it makes you wonder, like, is this going to really be the next thing? And then you got the generation that the millennials, they don't really care to have a house and two kids and a dog. They want to hang out with their friends, and so they live together anyway. So it's just like, okay, this is perfect. Yeah.
They do. So, someone is hearing this, they're like, "Hey, I like this shared housing." Yeah, I don't even know if the millennials even know the concept about what a boarding house is.
Right. They
I feel
wouldn't.
like our generation might be like the boomers might be or the Gen X's might be like
Yep.
the last ones that know of that
Absolutely.
because we saw that happen. Like I remember
Mhm.
aunts and people staying at my grandparents always had somebody and I was like, "Oh, okay." And so so someone's like, "Hey, I like the idea. What would be like a first step? What would someone do?" Well, first explain the concept a little bit more better. So I
Sure.
have a house, I don't know, I have a 3 bed, 2 bath house. I want
Yep.
to make it shared housing. What do I do with it?
Yep. So if first thing first, you would need to determine the type of shared housing
Okay.
facility that you want, because if you think about it, there's everything. You could do a granny pad. or as I call them, boomers, like boom mates. I call them boom mates. That's the name I like. You could
And see,
try.
you should trademark that.
You know what? I said it enough. I probably should. Like,
Boommates is a trademarkable term. We're going
you
to be
think so?
boommates
Okay.
because there
I,
are
I,
like
I will.
70 million. I'm a boomer, so there's
Yep.
like what,
Yep.
75 million of us,
Right. That's
and
right.
people don't want to live in a big old house alone.
That's right.
And boomers, all my friends, we're active. We
Yep.
go out on boats and we ride bikes and we hike and we camp and we ride paddle boards. And we're not like our grandmas, my grandmas, that were like knitting and canning
Hmm.
food and working
Hmm.
in the garden. Like they had to survive. We're just like, hey, Instacart, drop it off. We're going over there. And I, I don't want to. Should I end up being a widow before my husband? I don't want to just like live all by myself.
Of course not. So
Like, who
you,
would I
so
bother all day?
you would be a boom. You would have a boom mate,
I'd have a
right?
boom mate.
Yeah.
Okay, tell you right now, trademark it, girl.
Okay. I will look
Okay,
at that. I promise.
so
y-
I got a boom mate, and how does that happen?
Yeah, so we were saying boom mates, you could do it for veterans, you could do it for sober living, you could do mentally challenged, behavioral. So if you think about it vastly, there's all these niche markets that you could
Yeah,
go after. Or you could just say, hey guys, I've got a wonderful place here. I'm looking for people to rent by the room, and maybe they're just going to be professional people. They could even be like you do the short term with the furnished finders for nurses. You could even go after them. So you need
yeah.
to determine what area you want to look for or service, because
Okay.
that's basically you're being of service. And then you're
What's your
evaluating.
favorite?
Right now, I started with mental health
Okay.
and alcohol, behavioral disorder. Right now, my go-to is reentry. So if you understand the population, you know that there are a lot of people that are being reintroduced back into society from the criminal justice system.
Yep.
And yeah, so reentry is a big thing. They come with a stigmatism
They
because
do.
their background. However, they have served their time enough that either they're on parole or they are released, and they have typically no credit or diminished credit. They do have, they're hard workers because they don't want to go back. And so they
Yeah.
pay, yep, they pay their rent on time. They will take care of your place. And so right now, my specialty is for reentry clients, and mostly are men.
And I really do like that because I have an uncle that was in and out of jail all the time, and he
Mhm.
had mental illness. He had schizophrenia, like all, but
Yep.
back in that day, they just, I mean, gave people shock therapy and all the really tragic things that they did. But my uncle Elmo, he was like our favorite because he was like a big giant kid, and he had all these. He was in and out of jail all the time, and sometimes he'd be like, I'm just gonna go break into someone's house so I can go back to jail for a while because I don't know what to do. And I can
Mhm.
remember him saying those words to me. And then they go, "Oh, Elmo's back in jail." I was like, "Yeah, but I think Elmo wants to be there. He didn't know what to do or how to get out, because I mean he's been passed away for a decade and he was 80 then.
Mhm.
So I don't think he ever knew how to get back out there."
Right. And I mean, and that's a real thing. There are a lot of
Yeah.
wraparound and bridge services for these guys when they re-enter. But the main thing is, I think that they just need somebody in their corner. So a lot of their friends have moved away. Maybe their family is who they did something to. They don't want to be bothered with them, or at least they don't want to in their house. They understand that if they have some place to live, like that's half the battle. And then, getting something to eat, that's the other half the battle.
Yeah.
And it's just knowing that somebody's in your corner that really does care about you being a productive citizen. But to your point, yeah, they call it three hots and a cots. I know what I'm getting when I'm in jail. I'm getting three hot meals and I'm getting a cot to sleep in, and I don't have to worry about anything. So a lot of these guys haven't even transitioned into society. They don't even know how to open a bank account, Juan. They don't know anything. So I have a sheet on my wall, and it's got all of these services in them that I give them a support sheet. Here are the places that you need to call. here are the people, my contact people. This is going to help get you started, and down to the toothbrush. Like I've got dentist office that I've gone to and say, hey, I'm onboarding 5 guys and I need dental hygiene stuff. They'll give it to you. They really will.
Girl, you're gonna have a saint. You're gonna be a saint. You got like a saint named after you. Take that because you know what? People are afraid of criminals. But then I look at my uncle and he would say, well, I get 3 hots and he would say that. And then the
Hmm.
next thing you know, he'd break into somebody's house and just like, okay, they called the police and he just it's like, so eventually we got him put in a place for his mental illness because that's
Yeah,
what he needed. But I
right,
mean, if people, I just don't think people realize, unless maybe you've been an actual part of that, I think people realize how hard it is to get back
right,
because people do like, "Oh, you're in jail. What are you in jail for? I don't want you around me or my kids." Like, "What did you do?"
right,
And, like, for
right.
life, they have this big stamp on your head that's like, "I'm a criminal." But I'm sure most of us have done things that could have landed us in jail. We just
Pretty,
didn't get
yes,
caught.
yes, ma'am. We'll
I
keep
have
that
bought and sold my fair share of drugs, and I did not get arrested. So,
a
okay,
yeah.
so you make the decision because let's talk about reentry because that is, um and mentally ill and things, those are really highly overlooked, I feel. And like the
They
boomers
are.
and the boom maids, I feel like those people can, they can organize it. So we want to do something that's really super useful to the community. We want to do reentry. I want to buy a house. What do I need? What am I looking for?
You're looking for, it depends on your risk, your tolerance. Personally, I believe that everybody needs their own place to unwind, detox, think, and that's one person behind a door. I have some friends in other areas and states that do 2 people to a room. That feels very
Mm,
like a sardine to me, like in a can,
mm,
all squished up and down. But you can do it. It's legal as long as the room is large enough. I
mm.
just happen to not like that. So
Yeah, I
you
wouldn't
need,
like that either. I'd be like, what if I want to like fart in the middle of the night?
that's it, right? I can't do that with there. Like there's no freedom and all right, right. I need my own space to think,
Yeah.
right? So you need to decide how many people you want in your room because more people they can have a tendency to live hard in your place. And you also need to decide, do they need all that extra common space? So a lot of my common space, I don't need a living room and a dining room. I combine those so that there's a living dining room together. And then
Okay.
usually I end up converting my living room to a bedroom. That's what
Okay.
typically happens. So you want your bang for your buck and you want to
So you
convert
have
all.
like 3 bedrooms
Yep,
and you have a big living room and maybe it made 2 more rooms.
that's right.
You have 5 bedrooms.
That's right.
And then you have a kitchen and like
Yep.
a dining area.
Hmm.
And what about then people pay by the room. So what about like these are things I would think about. What about like housekeeping? You eat
Yep.
somebody else's groceries.
Yep.
Like
Okay.
you
So,
put your name on your groceries and when you work
oh,
in the fridge is like,
okay.
look at my yogurt.
Yeah. So let's talk about that because I learned, I skinned my knees on that the hard way, thinking that, hey, if somebody puts something in the refrigerator, of course you're not going to touch it. Like but you don't think about the fact that people may be hungry and they may not have had money to buy something. So when my goal is 4 to 1 for the bathroom. So I like to have a bath and a half. If there are more than 4 people, you're better off with, guys are share can share less bathroom space than women. They just can.
That is
Us,
true.
we're in it, right. So it depends on who you're servicing, male, female, or co-ed when you think about that. Also, the refrigerators. I learned that I thought it was one refrigerator was good to go, and everybody was just gonna fare okay. And nope. So when I get
No.
to the first person, I add another refrigerator, and then I assign cabinets, and I
So in the
assign,
kitchen, you have multiple refrigerators,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then people are assigned. What a good idea!
yeah. And I assign cabinets. So there's a common cabinet that's a free for all. Like if somebody goes to the store and they don't want something, you put it in the common cabinet. Nobody is upset about you taking it. If I stop at the free store, there's a common cabinet. Nobody cares if you took it. And I assign colors. So the little dots with the green,
Yeah,
orange,
yeah,
yellow.
yeah.
Yep, everybody gets a color. If you have something in the refrigerator, you get a little pad of colors when you move in. You put your dot on your thing that's your color. And everybody knows whose color is what.
Well, I really like that because that would be the first thing I would think of. It's like I
Yep,
have some leftover pizza and I want to eat it
yep,
at midnight. And I go down there and it's gone. It'd be like,
yep,
where is my food?
yep. So, and people have almost had fist fights over food. So, one thing that I do is no cameras, of course, in bedrooms and bathrooms, but
Yeah,
my entryways and my kitchen is monitored. Period. I
has to
can't
be.
have theft. And a house rule is in this house. I have a motto. In this house, we don't hurt people. And hurting people could be stealing something from them. It could be aggressive talking, calling them a name, hitting them. But if you steal something from somebody, it may be their last. You hurt them, you injured them in some way. So that is grounds for a write up, depending on the person, the person that you did it to, or removal. I have asked people to leave because
Yeah.
they've. So, and those are my house rules. You sign those when you come in the door. This is how we operate here.
Are you enjoying this episode? Make sure you don't miss a single solitary episode. Click subscribe, like, follow, all the things so you'll get notifications when every time a new show comes out. And let your friends know about it too. It's amazing. All right, so if you want to learn more about real estate investing, just reach out to dwanderful.com. I'll send you some free stuff. Back to the show. I think, and rules, like right now this week, I've got 2 of my grandkids. I've had them for like 15 straight days. They're 4 and 8. Well, my house and my rules are different than where they're at. And I was just,
Mhm.
the first week, it's like, oh my God, I just got to get these kids, like, these are the rules at Mimi's house. Like, if you
Yeah,
break these rules, I'm going to bust your butt. Like,
yeah,
because people have to function. Not everybody has the same common sense. And not everybody values the same thing. So I
that's
feel
right.
like rules, without rules, like it would never work. Even living in a house with your own kids and your family and your
Yeah,
moms and dads or whatever, rules are important.
they are.
People just have
You have to.
boundaries and
We
boundaries.
have rules. We have rules. We stop at the stop sign. We stop at the red light. You don't leave the grocery store without paying for it. There are rules all over the place. They're just not posted. We just grow up with them,
Yeah.
and they get a copy. But I also do have poster boards so that I can communicate. And there are rules on the poster board. Here they are. They're in plain sight, so you can see them. I'm not hiding it. I'm not making them up. They're right
So I know
there.
you can't maybe give an exact amount, but let's just say you have, I don't know, Cincinnati, Ohio, you have a house that ended up being a 5-bedroom. And the average rent, see, I don't really know the rents in that part of the country. But the rent is $800 a month for a house like that. How are they paying per bedroom?
Right. So the easiest way I find to, because it's different in different neighborhoods.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. So it depends on where your house is, how easily accessible it is to the bus stop. All the same things you would do to look at what you were going to price your regular rental.
Yeah.
You're going to look at to see what you're going to price this particular rental. So is it a moderately upgraded house, or does this house have stainless steel, and it depends on what you're doing. Okay, so modest to nice to B quality,
Yeah.
C D to B. So
Yeah.
you're everything in between. And then I'm looking at what a studio would rent for in that area. I'm also looking for what if there's an extended stay.
Oh,
Like what
okay.
is
Oh, that's a good
extended?
idea. Extended stay.
Yeah, because there's no precedence on how to do this thing, right?
Yeah,
I
that's what
don't
I'm
know.
thinking. How do you charge? But
Yep,
extended stays, I have used those a couple times where I
yep,
had to stay like 6 weeks someplace, and it's like,
yep,
I clean the room twice a week. I do
right,
the laundry. I get my groceries. Like, that's all right. So that's a good
right.
idea. You look at like an extended stay by the month.
Yep, I'm looking at that. And then it's who is your clientele. So of course, if it's a reentry, just a regular veteran, and you're not providing any services, just the room, then of course I have internet in all of mine, and usually washer and dryer is on site if I can do that. But um, a typical house that you would rent for anywhere from maybe 1,200 to 1,800,
Mhm.
I'm probably gonna get double, maybe even triple that.
Okay, so let's say we have a $2,000. Just to do super easy math, we have
Yeah,
a $2,000 a month house. You have 5 bedrooms, so you're making like 4 to 5,000
probably
a
four.
month on
Yep,
that.
yep,
Damn, girl. I need to
Yeah.
be doing that.
Yeah. But here's the beauty of it. And I really am gonna get my stuff together, Dewan, because there's a wonderful thing that you do with your equity and your rent thing that I think would go really well with this. And we definitely could talk about it. But I will tell you this. So what it does for me is most of my homes I've owned because that was my strategy. But
Yeah.
now I'm starting to get into the place where I'm master leasing some of them. So
Yes.
you bring stability to the house because you know you can afford that particular X marks the spot payment, and you don't have to worry about it not income producing because it's not one tenant, it's not one resident, you got five.
That's
So
right.
even if somebody falls off, I'm still churning. Like the
That's
whole
it.
time, I'm just always marketing for that replacement person. And so you're never without rent in that property at all. There's always something coming in the door. So I mean, it's like and you're fulfilling a need for them.
Yeah, you
So
are.
it's really win-win. It really is.
Yeah, no, I love it. I've talked to a few people that do it, and I think one guy I talked to was doing it like for nurses. I know a lot of people do it for like
Yep.
medical and
Yep.
executives and traveling, but there's so many people out there that are not executives or nurses that need like the mentally ill and people coming back in reentry or people that have had drug and addiction. Like those are the people nobody wants to help.
Yep. And there's a whole business to be made out of this. It really is. It started out as a what am I going to do with a house? And somebody needed a place to stay, and it's oh well, here's the thing. Let me rent the room. See how this works, and oh that really works. It's like you just kind of fall into it, and you creatively, magically, I call it automagically. It automagically comes together. Uh, I love those words. Yeah, I thought you would appreciate that. But
Automatically, I do love that. It's like,
yeah,
okay, that's a new word for me. Automatically.
automagically,
I
yeah, it
love it.
comes together, and you're really helping someone, and my houses are the cutest house on the street. It's well manicured. They don't have to worry about the noise thing. They don't have to worry about the. They don't even know that it's a shared house. The,
Yeah.
the neighborhood, like nobody even knows. But I do go to the neighborhood meetings and let them know this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. This is how you contact me. Here's my why. Here are my credentials. And oh, by the way, should you come to the door, there's something on there that says this is a shared facility. If you have any questions, please contact Tiffany Ray. But it's helping to stabilize some of you're talking about that particular re-entry person. They're going to go to that DC area, probably
Yeah,
what they
they
can
are.
afford. But having a person like yourself or myself invested in that property is going to help bring up the property value because
Yep.
that's what we do. That's right.
Yep. Yep. No, I do like it. We have a house in Florida that's in a gated community and they have an HOA.
Yeah.
And like, I never go. It's like, listen, I travel all over. I don't have time to be going about who's arguing about someone had weeds in their yard. And like, I don't care. But we get, I guess, an email every meeting and say, hey, we're doing this and this and this. And there was an email that came out a few months ago. So and so wants to make their house a halfway house.
Yeah.
I mean, the neighbors had a meltdown. And I was like, okay, but like it's a halfway house for people that are trying to get back in. So this is me, like with no votes whatsoever, because I'm not on the board of anything. And I'm one of like 300 people. I was like, yeah, but people never, I don't want them next to my house, put them next to your house.
Yep.
But if they were next to my house, I'd probably help them.
You're right.
So
Right.
I don't
That's
understand.
it.
And I mean, it was like the neighborhood was, they were, oh my God, the emails went back and forth. I was like, what the hell's wrong with all you people?
It's a stigmatism, that stigma that comes with it, and you get that not in my backyard is real. That's a real
Oh, that's
thing.
what everybody said, and it's on a different street, and I mean to tell you, people were putting signs.
Yeah.
Children
Yeah.
live here. We don't want people coming out of halfway houses in our neighborhood. And I was like, yeah, but lots of people have issues with drug and alcohol
They do.
and all that things. It doesn't mean they're going to be horrible,
It
crazy killing
doesn't.
maniacs for life. I mean, like, I don't know. And that was what everybody said. Not in this neighborhood. This is a gated
Yeah.
community. Like, well, the person
I,
owns that
yeah.
house doesn't mind. And
Right. Why should you?
I don't mind, and half the people in here, 90% of the people don't mind, but man, I never saw such a fight in my life between all
Yeah,
these females. I was like, dang, people
it's
be
it's
nasty.
it's real. It is, but you have to convince them that you run a tight ship, and
Yes,
that is, I think, where my corporate background comes from.
yes,
In being able to run a tight ship, and I tell them we have rules, we have regulations that we abide by.
yep,
Here's all of my criteria. I'm doing a background check on people before they come
yeah.
because you don't want them if they're a SO, you don't want them close to children. You
Yeah,
don't
no,
want them.
that's if you that yeah,
Yeah, you have to onboard the right person for the right property. That's
yeah.
a big thing. Big
Yeah,
thing.
it really is, and like I said, most people I have talked to do, like, executives. It's like, well, that's e and, I think I've always volunteered, like, when my daughter was little, we volunteered at the YWCA, and they had the women that literally, like, left their house at 2 in the morning with their kids and got picked up by a van and left the house with their backpack, and they're like, they're behind a gate and there's guards and like these women are in really abusive situations. And so I volunteered once a week and I would babysit all the kids while the moms were in counseling. And they're like, you just can't believe we can't get people to come and babysit because they're afraid some ex is going to show up. I'm like, well, there's like 20-foot fences out there with razor wire and you got guards everywhere. I feel safer in here than out there. I don't know. So even then, I was like helping. And I told my daughter, like, listen, people need help. Women, like, they're in abusive relationships. They need help getting out. And, and the same
Hmm.
thing like with you, like, there's all kinds of places where people need levels of help. And most people just want to do the easy, like mail in a check somewhere and call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like do anything about it.
When you think about it, Dwando, at the very core of our American values, we have rights. We do. We have rights. There's amendments, First Amendment, Second Amendment, third. We have a quality of life standard. And
Yeah,
so when people do something and they have paid for it, whether so even so say your crime is a white collar and you pay extra penalties for it, you still paid for it. So it doesn't
yeah,
stay with you forever. Okay, so aren't people entitled to clean and a safe and quiet, affordable, healthy
yeah,
environment for them? Right. I mean, that's just like the at the very core of our American way is like what we expect for ourselves. Shouldn't you expect that for others? Like, aren't they
yeah.
entitled to that if they can? Okay, this is that.
I
This
love
is
it.
what.
Yeah, I like the fact that, like I said at the beginning, my motto is people before profits, and you have like a
Yeah.
heart for people. And a lot of investors, I mean, I love all investors, but a lot of investors are really more about the money and what can they do for me. And I don't find that everybody wants to necessarily like kind of give and help and give back because it's like anything. Like we don't want to look at the homeless people. They don't want them in our
Yeah.
neighborhood, and we'll just like put some money over there. But no one wants to actually go and help.
But this is
It
the
takes
best
a
of both
special
worlds.
heart.
This is blended though. It's the best of both worlds
It is.
because because you as a investor, if I would say, Dwan, I have this opportunity and I'm going to do a 20-bedroom and this is what it's going to be. So there's a social component to it that you may want to put your money. Maybe you don't want to be a house man. Maybe you don't want, or maybe you have the house that I'm going to lease and
Mhm.
I stabilize that asset for you. I need a
Yep.
lease and I want 3 to 5 years because I don't want, so I'm going to guarantee you, you
Yeah.
know, one, so that is a, a safety net for you.
Yeah.
Then if you're the owner of the property, you're making two, three, four, 5 times the amount. So, I mean, it is a win all the way around. I don't see the bad in this at all.
I don't
And
either.
yeah.
I
And
don't
for
either. But
people,
as a woman that's 65, I'm like boom mates. I want a boom mate.
don't you just
I
love that? Don't
I
you
love
love
that
that?
so much. So I
The
have a
book
lot
rate
of
is
friends
awesome.
that live in the villages in Florida, the little golf cart community. It's like
Mhm.
known the worldwide. And I mean, there's 3, 4 women all living in houses together, and they just have the
Mhm.
best fun. They go to
That's
happy
it.
hour at like 3 in the afternoon. They're drinking, they're playing golf, they're riding their golf carts. It's like living their best life.
That's a boom mate. That's it. That's
That's
it.
well, I love all that. So let's jump topics for a minute. Let's
Sure.
talk about what's your favorite band of all time. Let's talk about music.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Band? Oh, now if you had singer, I would be able to
Or
do that
singer,
right away. Oh, singer, I can give
a
you that one
band.
right away. Because remember, I said I wanted to sing in the South of France. Remember, I told you that.
Yep.
Okay, my favorite singer of all time, Barbara Streisand.
Oh man, she is so good.
Right?
She
Barbara,
is. Her voice is
period. Angelic,
yes.
and she sings with angels. Now the band thing, I'm gonna have to think about that. I never really, and I grew up in a band. I grew up with a band in our basement. My stepdad played bass, and so there was band practice 3 times a week in my house. But
Yeah.
so I don't know. Yeah, I
I
don't know
love
if I have
music.
a
I think
favorite
music
band.
is like it's part of your soul. You can tell a lot about people by
Yes,
the music they listen to.
yes.
You
So
know, and
that's
some people are like, I don't ever listen to music. It's like, what? How could you live
how,
your life and not listen to music? Like
how, right?
music, every song equates to a memory.
Yes,
Like
music is something.
it's
I I, I have a favorite movie, the
oh,
Matrix.
I
The
love the Matrix.
the Matrix. And people meet me and they go, like, are you a sci-fi? And then I put up the live long and prosper. And they go, oh my gosh, she's a Trek. Yes, yes,
Girl.
yes.
I
Grew
just
up
do that. I'm like, my husband's like, what are you doing? I'm like, live long and prosper. How do
live
you
long
not
and
know that?
prosper. Yes. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
why I love you. So, any Trekkie is always a favorite.
Yes.
What's your favorite part of the day?
Hmm. I think my favorite part of the day is going to be early evening.
Mm,
Um, Yeah, it's when you might catch a breeze. It's when the sun is
yeah.
setting, so you get the beautiful landscape. Yeah, I like everything about it. I'm a driver, so I don't know if I told you I commuted to Colorado for 6 years
No,
from Ohio.
you
Yeah,
commuted? Wow.
yes. When I say commute, I mean like the 17-hour drive commute.
Oh
That
shoot,
that commute. Yeah.
that's a
Um,
drive.
yeah, my husband worked there for 6 years. We had a house first in Lakewood, then we moved
Yep.
to Pueblo South, and I would drive once a month. And that evening, right before the sun set, and I would be coming up over the mountains. I could see
Yeah.
Colorado Springs. And,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's the most picturesque thing. I could never erase it out of my brain. And I think that's when I fell in love with that time of day.
Yeah. It's funny because we live in the actual mountain. So we live at 9,000 feet. And
Okay.
90% of the people I interview are like, oh, I like the morning. I get up at 5, I work out. And I was like, I don't know, man, living in the mountains, it's like when that sun starts to go down, everything is just, it's like, wow,
It's
this is
beautiful.
this is
It,
God's country right here.
Yes, it is beautiful. So you know exactly what I'm saying.
I know exactly.
Right.
I'm not, I'm always like, no, evening when the sun's going, the
Yep.
trees, it's like
Yep. That's
you
it.
can't you can't do any. That's just amazing. So, what is your biggest goal? So, I have two more questions for you. So,
Okay.
what is your biggest goal that you have right now, and how
Okay.
can this wonderful family help you?
Biggest goal. Um, this is so funny. So when I'm speaking and we're talking about real estate and why, because you always have to have a why.
Yeah.
I ask people, how many people in here know your great grandmothers, 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 grandmothers? So 5 generations name. And 9 times out of 10, the room is dead silent and they don't. And I tell them it's because they haven't left them anything. But if they left them something, I bet you they would know their name. So my goal for my family is 5 generations deep for them to know Grandma Tiffany's name. So that is my goal.
I love it.
Um, and it's a big one. It's a big goal. Um,
Generational wealth, it's a big thing. It's, hey, the Bible says it's a blessing.
hey, that's right. You got to think big. Think big, right?
Yeah.
How can the Dewan family, Ben Twyford's help me? I believe that you guys have some strategies that you have worked with for a very long time that will fit well into what I think shared
Mhm.
living is the next blue ocean for sure. And I think figuring out how to maybe combine some of that stuff and teach other people how to do it so that they can have a 5 generation dream too would be really super cool, awesome.
Okay, so
And this is,
everybody, the wonderful family, you got to get engaged. Now,
yeah,
do you help and teach people how to do this?
I'm working on it. I do host we started our focus group for in my particular area. Our inaugural meeting was March, so we're 4 or 5 months in, and I'm working on a few things, but I'm here for questions all the time, and eventually, yeah, it would be cool to
Well, it
learn
would
this.
be cool to get that some kind of package where you can, teach people how to do it, but then they can like we do coaching and mentoring,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that is like, especially like, with prices going up, 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 and people can't afford
mhm,
groceries, and shared housing makes sense. But I feel like a lot of people, like, I wouldn't even know where to look for that
right,
to live in one.
right.
Not to do it, but just to live in one. So I feel like that's something where the word needs to be out more, that people are like, "Hey, listen, there's shared housing, there's this. I can teach you how to do it," and make it, I don't know, like, more where people think of it.
Yeah, it'll be a thing. It's just I guess like when short-term housing was new, nobody knew about it. You had to make it a
Mm.
thing. So I'm trying to make it a thing.
Okay, I'm helping you make it a thing, girl. I know
All
Airbnbs
right.
when they first came out, I was like, "What? You rent out your house for a week? Who would do that?" Well, I stay in them all the time now, so it's like,
Yep.
"Oh, I get it." So,
Yeah.
I get it. So, okay, well, we're gonna help you make it a thing because,
All right.
it's just, I mean, it's good for anybody, really, for
That's right.
anybody and anything, traveling or reentry or anything. But I feel like it's a good thing for women too, because if you're a single woman and maybe you're 40, 45, 50, kids are growing up, it's like it's nice to have like roommates, but not like friends who are roommates where
That's right.
you end your friendship over. Like, you just have people that you can talk and hang out with. Have a little
Yeah.
barbecue in the backyard.
Yeah. We did a barbecue Saturday. It's just cooperative living. That's what it is.
That's it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, so people can, do you have a website for people to go to?
I do. It is. You also can reach my website at Tiffani, Tiffani, Ray.com as well. Or you
And
can do
then
the traditional
Ray of
Ray of Hope
Hope
Realty
Realty
Services.
Services.com.
.com. Exactly. That's the long way. We shortened it so they both go to the same website. Correct.
Okay. So everyone, so one more thing for you. So if you have enjoyed the show today, which I know that you have, because I mean, look at this angel over here, Miss Tiffany Ray, like a ray of
Oh,
sunshine. I love it. And I love what you do, and I love your heart, because I am just such a big helping people kind of person. And when I get another person like that, I'm just always like, oh, we need more people like you in the world today. So if you guys had fun or lived, laughed, learned anything, just anything at all, I want you to subscribe to the podcast, leave a 5-star review, because I can't grow without your help. And also follow me on YouTube. I put these podcasts up on YouTube and on my website, dwonderful.com. I have free ebooks, wholesaling, short sales, subject twos, whatever you want. Not shared housing. You got to go to Tiffany to learn about that. So, okay. So, I like all the guests to leave us with a parting word of wisdom, but just actually one word, a word of wisdom.
ooh, wow. A
And it's hard to
word.
do, right?
Wow, you stumped me, and I'm rarely stumped. Let me
It's my
think.
superpower.
One. I know, right? One word. Commit.
Perfect. Okay. So, everyone that listens regularly, I tell everyone to take a little yellow sticky, write the word commit, put it up on their mirror, and then say the word commit every week. Commit, 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 commit. That's the word of the week in the Wonderful family this week. And I never tell guests I'm going to ask them that, because then what you're doing through the whole show is you're thinking about your word.
I like it.
And then you think, and then you change your mind, like, oh, I'm going to say that. And then it's like, I can see people trying to, I'm like, I just wait till the end
Mhm.
and say, give me a word. Because, people want to give you a word. Or what's part? They want to give you like a 45-minute dissertation. It's like, just give me a word. Come in. Now, the important part is, what does that word mean to you?
What it means is definitely not one word. It means I have a saying in my house, and that saying is, "Don't be offended, ladies. Action is the man." So to me, what commit means is don't be afraid to drive through the fog. Get through it. Find a way to get it done. That's what it means to me.
Action is the man. No, I like it. I always do want to ask everyone what it means to them, because commit means something different to every person that hears it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to focus this week on Tiffani Ray's action is demand. And women, if any women that are offended by that, they need to seriously grow up. It's like, women, stop with everybody being so offended. Like, what the hell's wrong with people?
Yeah, I agree.
Just stop it. All right, so action is demand. Write on your boards, women especially. And for those of you that are thinking about, other things besides rehabbing or landlording, I mean, I really feel like shared housing is a huge thing. And I'm hearing more about it, learning more about it all the time. And I love it. And I really love the way that you do it, Miss Tiffani. So, all right, everybody, we'll be back. So thank you for being on the show, first off.
Thank
and
you.
everyone else will be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel. And remember that the truth is in the red letters. All right, everybody. Ciao. I'll see you. Tiffani, thank you. You just had a taste of the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. So just one more thing before you go. If you laughed, if you learned something, please leave a 5-star review. Don't be a gatekeeper. Share it with everyone that you know. And I'll see you back here next week for the most wonderful real estate podcast ever.